Hi, everybody out there. To all of my listeners and followers out there on the internet platforms, that is YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, etc., these are notes on the election. And I wanted to make it clear that I wrote and posted this entire presentation on my thoughts on the election before the election. And now that it's over and the great threat has passed, I have deleted the original video and replaced it with a this quickly rewritten video along the same lines. But instead of me saying the election's in 3 days, this is what we should do, I'm now saying, well, the election was a couple weeks ago, and this is what we're seeing so far. and So, with that program note, Patriots, it's time to take notes on the election and see what we have learned. First, a fact check from online sources like Wikipedia and Forbes. Well, what does Wikipedia and Forbes have to say about the candidates? Tim Walz was a de facto, would have been a de facto communist with very strong ties to Red China in his beliefs and leanings, and over the years, self professing, he himself said he made 30 trips to communist China. Now, it's been hinted at that he didn't pay for those trips. It's been hinted that China paid for those trips. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm really thankful that Tim Walz is not our vice president elect. And I'm just having a little trouble with my scripts here because I'm trying to move it around while I'm trying to check levels and everything. It's always nice if you actually have when you're recording that you have levels going down. um, Gee, did I introduce myself? Uh, I'm a little tired tonight. I've been at it in different things going on in my life right now. And plus, I'm kind of running a cat shelter here. Not my fault. I didn't go out and buy cats. When you live out in the woods, for some reason, there seems to be feral cats that find you and pregnant ones. And thankfully, up the street, I have a lady who donates to the spaying, neutering, medical aspect of all this because otherwise there'd be about 1,000 cats running around, and I can't feed all of them, but I do what I can. So, they occupy a lot of my time. Believe it or not, I have 8 feeding stations for feral cats out here in the woods. Uh, Basically, it's my living room, back bedroom, back of the kitchen, down in the basement, which is very nice, by the way. It's carpeted. They have water and food and beds and heat and light, and all that kind of good stuff. Air, water, good litter boxes. But so I'm making excuses. In the house, you need stuff done. And since the departure of my other half, it's all up to me to get anything done in here. Guess what? If you have to go shopping for food, guess who goes? Guess who shops? Guess who brings it home, puts it away? Guess who cooks and cleans? Guess who feeds the cats and cleans up after the cats? Yeah, I, you know, I'm not misogynist. Believe me, I am so grateful for females, especially in the traditional role that they have played in American households. Boy, you just don't know what you've got to handle. I mean, plus the regular stuff that guys have traditionally done. You got tree problems outside, trees that are 80 feet tall that are old and are dead and have to come down and be put up. You got weirdo neighbors, and you got construction across the street. You just don't know the half of all the stuff going on around me and in my life. And uh, thank God. Well, I am past the age of retirement, in case you haven't guessed that. And I haven't even shaved today. I apologize for that. But I said, you know what? I'm comfortable. It's a Tuesday night. Nobody's watching anyhow. It's just us 1.2 million followers and me. And and I I appreciate Joe Rogan. I watched his show, what he did with Donald Trump before the election. That was terrific. And finally, thank God, we figured out a way in this country to have a real interview with real candidates instead of, and Harris refused to do it, which to me sank her boat. Uh, if you can't get together and honestly answer simple questions asked by simple people, you can't be our president. It's just the way it is. Because, you know, Joe Rogan said, I'm not going to trim my show down to an hour. I won't allow you to edit what I want to air. And I'm not going to your studios where you can out anytime you feel like it because you're the vice president and the Secret Service can get rid of me anytime they want to. You want to do an interview, you come to Austin, Texas. You come into my studio and you sit down and you, by the way, do you know that podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast with Donald Trump, got million, 50 million views last time I checked. And, they pay. YouTube pays. Google, YouTube pay for the number of views. I'm figuring Rogan made about $500,000 off of that one interview, that one day. 3 hour interview, and for which he was paid by YouTube. Yeah, Google owns YouTube. He was paid $500,000 for that. That's not bad. But he had 50 million viewers. So anyway, so what's 1/50th of? Okay, if he's getting 500,000. Anyway, um, the debates were so stilted, so formatted. They had a minute and a half to answer a question. Come on, you can't you can't even say prayers in a minute and a half. A minute and a half. Thank God it's nothing more important than listening to who our next president's going to be. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, the most important job on the planet, most powerful person on the planet, his hand and button is on the trigger for the nuclear weaponry. Let's give him a minute and a half to answer important questions, and then we'll just cut him off. You know, you can you can vamp and dodge and say nothing in a minute and a half, which is what, in my opinion, what Harris did. She was, they call her word salad, but it was total bullshit. I mean, she just sat there and said nothing. It was word slop, and she thought she would get away with it because she thinks that you're stupid. That's Harris and Waltz think the American people are stupid. We just do our shuffle and run the clock out, 2 months till the election, and they'll vote for us because, hell, we're Democrats. And if they're registered Democrats out there, the party has picked the person. So we're going with it. Yeah. How do you like my casual Tuesday? I need a co host in here. I really badly feel that. I need somebody else in here to talk at and bounce stuff off with. But anyhow, see, I thought, what's the point? Why am I gonna put on a regular shirt or a button-down shirt or me? I have a black camel hair jacket. It looks very nice. But would you be impressed? Is that what you expect? So, you know what? From this new format that I'm doing here now, this is not for kids. Okay? If you are a person that doesn't like your kids to hear some things or see some things, then this is not any longer a broadcast for you because this is going to be open. I'm going to have guests in here. I'm going to bring in people as I can get them. We're going to talk about different subjects. And there's no holds barred. This is cable, damn it. It's the internet. And, if you don't like what you're hearing, you can go. It's no skin off my nose. I'm sitting here anyhow. And so, anyway, uh, where was I? I went way off script, by the way. I had this thing all written out. I, I totally buy and get what Joe Rogan's doing. I get that, you know what, you can't do a real show. Hour long TV shows like The View with their edited questions, and we can ask this, we can't ask that. And they've got 20 minutes of commercials, so that you've got 40 minutes of actual show. You're not going to hear the real deal there. But okay, we were talking about Waltz, and he's loves China. He's made 30 trips to communist China. My voice is a little hoarse. I may break this into two parts. I may say part one and part two. The what can we say? The anatomy of the election, the autopsy election. For the Democrats, the victory lap for the Republicans. Notes on the election. Let me find my place here. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. He's the guy who started Facebook, etc., etc. He's got like $100 billion. He's married to a Chinese national, and all Chinese nationals, de facto, by order of the Red Communist China government, must report to Communist China. If Xi Jinping says, I want to report on such and such, they don't have a choice. They still have relatives in China and concerns, or, they can get at you. And why do you think they released 50,000 of the military Chinese people, the Chinese military army, into the United States? Walked right across the border because, Harris and Biden said, come on in, boys. You're not going to be doing any fighting or dirty tricks or spying or, you know, uh, sabotaging any of our stuff, are you? Oh, of course not. Okay, well, come on in and have a good time. It's America, you know. And Biden has treated the United States as his own personal piggy bank, you know. He's sending his son Hunter Biden around the world with his hat out, say, you tip your waitresses if you want to have influence and have a door in to the United States government, and maybe we can talk about some changes that you want to do. Uh, you know, tip your waitresses. But Zuckerberg, Facebook, I feel is heavily influenced by China. And as a matter of fact, there's an online picture that I grabbed and threw into my own personal cache of online pictures of him shaking hands with the chief of propaganda in the Chinese government. And that's the head of one of the largest social media concerns in the world, Mark Zuckerberg, in there shaking hands and making nice with the top propaganda guy of Red China. And nothing to see here, you know. Don't worry about that. So, Tim said he's in awe and respect of the communist Chinese government system over the 1.5 billion people. and the Department of Homeland Security, our Department of Homeland Security in the United States, has previously expressed great concern about his ties to China. Look it up for yourself online. So, even the Biden's department, the Biden's DHS said, whoa, what's going on here? Uh, why is Waltz making all these trips to China, etc.? No doubt Tim would be working to integrating the United States, my opinion, uh, working to integrating the U.S. into and under control of communist red China to a degree. A little at first, dip your toe in the water, see how it is, see if he can get the people to swallow it. So if you would think that you would like living in communist China today, you probably would like Waltz and Harris to be elected president and vice president. But we dodged that bullet. I watched on Fox News the other night. Anna, I guess it was election night or before the election. She was great. Anna Luna, a female Hispanic Republican in Florida, or a Republican in Florida, female Hispanic. I forget if she's an office holder or what she's into or not. Hey, you know what? I really like this microphone. I don't have to worry about sitting close to a big mic or anything. It's a little cheap, Logitech, but you know what? Look at that. Boy, it does the job, and I don't even feel it on my head. And I feel instantly the feedback of what it's sounding like. So this is a lot better than my other setup. When I had to hold up here's my old Logitech camera microphone, and I'd have to be, hunched in there and or holding it. That was terrible. That was not the way to go. You either need a head mic or you need a sound man somewhere, and just put one of those big old on-air personality microphones in front of you. Anyway, boy, it's going to take forever if you keep going off into tangents, Dave. Yeah, this could be a Joe Rogan. This could be one of those 3-hour things. So, I want to get across these major points that I wanted to make before I let myself launch off in any directions. The Democrats were saying, we own the Hispanics. And Anna Luna is a female Hispanic Republican in Florida. And the intelligent female Hispanics in government are Republicans, it seems to me. Ted Cruz is a most famous senator. Ted Cruz of Texas, who won his contest for his Senate seat, who is Hispanic. And I don't think I've ever heard Ted Cruz say anything that I disagreed with. I love Ted Cruz. From Florida, Marco Rubio. I think he's now our new is he the guy who's going to be our Secretary of State? It just all flooded in my mind. I've heard all the names and all the cabinet positions. I know I'm totally impressed. I can't believe the all-stars. Oh my God, Elon Musk is going to be working on the budget. I'm not quite as happy about Vivek Ramaswamy. He's too young. He's got too much hubris. He thinks he knows everything. He's just one of those people you just want to smack when he's in the room. Because Vivek Ramaswamy, he was talking down the wars and everything. Let me tell you something about the Ukraine-Russia war and give you a little history that I've never heard on Fox News or regular media news. I don't know, it's because they were not born back then, or if maybe that, they just didn't bother to read Wikipedia. But there's a little thing in 1994 called the Budapest Memorandum. And it really was a treaty over Ukraine between China, Russia, the United States, England, and France. Pretty major stuff, huh? The world powers that are in 1994. Well, 2004, 2014, 30 years later, who remembers the Budapest Memoranda? It was promoted by Bill Clinton when he was president, and it really all sounded good on paper. And it basically said we recognize that Ukraine, as a country, wants to be a free and independent country and wants to stay free. And all the signatories to the treaty said, yeah, we agree. And hands off, we're going to help them keep their freedom. Russia and China said we will not attack the Ukraine or come against them. 30 years later, here comes Russia and Ukraine, Iran and North Korea. Don't get me started on North Korea and China. That's a subject for another talk down the line. But, okay. So we got Ted Cruz, we got Marco Rubio, superstars, and thank God they exist because of the great jobs they've been doing. Marco Rubio is another guy that I listen to every time he gets on TV for something because he's young, but he just doesn't say anything I disagree with, ever. He knows what we need to do as a country. Ted Cruz knows what we need to do. Anna Luna. Yeah, I've got to look that up after I get done here. I don't know what she does or what her job is, but I hope it's important and high up because she's very impressive. Uh, I Ron DeSanto. Ron DeSanto. I got to turn off a thing here. We got something buzzing there. My my subwoofer drive. It's got a bad ground and a cable. See, no text here. It's all me. See, once again, if Dave wants to rewire and redo his little podcast studio, guess who needs to know about all the technicals? And the lighting, oh my God, it took me an hour to mess with lighting and controls on the software for the cameras and stuff to get it to be comfortable and watchable. This morning I was messing with it, and the sunlight was in. I said, it's terrible because the sun was just pouring in and half of my face was this side was totally washed out and this side over here was in the dark, even with the light on. I got a little light right here. I don't know if it's in the shot or not because I don't have a camera guy. You need a sound guy and a camera guy. And then you need somebody to bring snacks or water or somebody to man the phones. Anyway, this is what is going to replace FM radio. Do you know that? It's like, why would you buy a multi-million-dollar radio station that's limited in broadcasting to maybe a 50-mile diameter, of signal, and have to sell to mom and pop shops around an area when you can make a podcast in color where you can be seen, like having your own TV station, and this can go around the world. Vladimir Putin, I talked to him a few months ago, by the way. I have made contact via, I don't want to tell everybody how I get in contact with world leaders, but I found out a little secret. There's nothing illegal about it. I've talked to some other famous people in the entertainment industry through my little hacking wormhole into communication around the world, and nobody is untouchable to me anymore. You know what? If you can get Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin to say hello. Even world famous guys who are good or bad, wherever. Well, Trump, Donald goes over to Korea, North Korea, and talks to Kim Jong Un. You know, little rocket man. He insults him and then goes over there and talks to him. and my kind of guy. and I don't pull any punches when I talk to Vladimir Putin. I basically said, "What the hell are you doing in Ukraine? There, you're wiping out an entire country. What do you need? The buffer space? You're afraid that they're going to launch a nuclear attack from the Ukraine? It's crazy. 30 years ago, they didn't need a buffer zone. They were all fine with it. Okay, Ukraine wants to be its own independent democratic country. Yeah, let me tell you, I've started telling you the history on the Ukraine and the Budapest Memorandum. Budapest is a city in Turkey, I think. I didn't look that one up either. But you know what? I'm past the age of retirement. I'm at the point in time and age when I just don't give a damn anymore. If you don't like the way I do things, get your own damn podcast. And that includes, I've had pastors who have criticized me for leaving behind the shepherd's voice. And I made that very clear on my first broadcast in this new format. This is going to be a sit down, comfortable, casual environment. We're going to talk about everything, anything that crosses my mind that I want to talk about. And look, I have my own television studio. Uh, Thanks to Google or YouTube and Facebook and Rumble and all that stuff. Anybody in the planet with a smartphone or a computer can watch me. So my potential, let's consider the underdeveloped areas. My potential audience is 3 or 4 billion people. So, but I'm not going to be talking about heavyweight boxing. I'm not into that. I'm also not going to be diving down to the levels of a Howard Stern. I don't need to talk about reproductive body parts in a vulgar way, and embarrassing famous people in order to interview them. But that's Howard, and that's why he makes $100 million a year. You know that? Howard Stern gets $100 million a year as a salary for just kind of being what he is on Sirius XM satellite radio. His staff gets another 20 million. Because the staff, Robin and Boo Boo or whatever his name is. I'm sorry. I've watched a few Sterns just because of the interviews. I've watched when he's interviewed people I wanted to hear what they had to say, like Paul McCartney, and what went on with him and John. And oh, by the way, I've talked to Julian Lennon briefly over the phone a few months ago also, and I talked to Paul McCartney. We basically we got into it because I thought okay, we'll keep that private, secret, intimate. We don't want to open him up to getting annoyed or bothered by people. He's a private person. He's got a lot of family. He's got the wife and the kids and the farms, and he's all over the world. He's got homes in London. Let's see, he's out in Long Island. He's got an address. He's over in Los Angeles. If you watch Million Dollar Listing Los Angeles, you remember Flag showing somebody a property and said, and this abuts to Paul McCartney's house. That's Paul's property right there. And I'm sure Paul was going like, "No, shut up, shut up, shut up," because you know life was nuts when he was a Beatle. And John Lennon used to come down to Allentown, Pennsylvania on weekends and talk with or walk around with, it was either Sean or Julian. And I think it was Sean because when I asked Julian if he remembers coming to the Allentown Parkway system and going through, they have like 2 or 3 thousand acres of flowering roses and bushes and ponds and fountains, and it's really neat. It's kind of like a World's Fair type size thing, but with plants, and they have these little 3 or 4 foot wide asphalt walkways. You can ride your bicycle, you can jog, you can just walk and enjoy. You can walk, you can jog, you can bike, and it's that kind of a park. And a guy who's in real estate, who's a friend, very good friend of, was a very good friend of John Lennon up till 1980 when he was shot in December, and still a tragic loss. I mean, I thought John was a bit nuts, and I think he mistreated Paul. I think it was really shameful the way Yoko and John outed Paul McCartney and just treated him like dirt because Yoko, you know, didn't want him in their life, and they kind of treated Julian Lennon like dirt too. He got kind of you know screwed over, whereas Sean Lennon uh, was right in there with Yoko and John, and I think he got, from what I understand, the bulk of the fortune and all that. And there was really a lot of bad feelings flowing around in that whole thing. Just as a little tip, if you ever talk to Paul McCartney, don't talk about Yoko or John. Move on. Um, so, why did I get into that? What was I talking about there? Oh, I got off onto, this new media, podcasting, and being on podcasts on the internet. And we want to ramp up here. And my old format, uh, I was trained to be a pastor. I was trained in an Assembly of God university. Now, I'm in line with a lot of what they say, okay? But I'm not in line with a lot of what they say. I was raised by a Lutheran minister who happened to be my biological father. My dad was a had a doctorate in my dad had a doctorate in theology and went to Muhlenberg College, a Lutheran school, and graduated from a Lutheran seminary in Philadelphia, and had his doctorate, and had a little church in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, of about 2,500 people. 2,500 members in a town of 10,000 is not doing bad. And then the other big churches in town were the Moravian Church, the UCC Reformed Church, and the Catholic Church, Holy Family, which in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, you may know is the hometown of Mario Andretti. Wow, he would be cool to have on and talk to. He's like 35 miles from here, or I don't know. Did he move? I don't even know if he's still in Nazareth, but he was when I lived there. You'd see him driving around town in his little red Ferrari, and he's got his little castle on the hill in Nazareth. Has like an 8-car garage, and he's on, I don't know, maybe 100 acres, I'm guessing, out of town, out of the north end of town, and it's really cool. His driveway, long driveway, is a red brick meandering driveway halfway up, halfway between the road that you drive in on with the gates and all that, and the cameras and the bushes and the landscaping. Halfway between there and his house is a fountain. This like circle go round thing. So I don't know why he decided to go, you know what, I'm going to have a driveway, and halfway up through the driveway, and it's going to be all red brick driveway, but halfway up there, I'm going to have a fountain. You know, I'm not talking a little, 10, I'm not talking 3, 4, 5 foot. I'm talking like a 20, 30 foot diameter fountain. I mean, you know, welcome to Versailles in France type fountain. But he's a crazy and wild guy. I grew up in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, because that's where my dad lived. And it's funny how that works. Uh, and my dad was this Lutheran minister, and I was explaining my theological background, okay? Lutherans are pretty liberal. In case you don't know it, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, the LCA originally was what it was, Lutheran Church in America, uh, they don't have any problems with drinking beer. Most of us are German. I'm partly German, okay? My dad's side, I think, is my dad's mother probably came from Switzerland. My dad's father, I mean, their ancestors came from Germany. The Alsace-Lorraine section, the one that flip-flopped between France and Germany. So, we might have some French in there, and German and Swiss. And my mother's side, oh my God, that's where we get off into. Let me tell you something. They told me that our grandfather, my mother's father, was French. His last name, I can't tell you his last name because it's my mother's maiden name. And that's like a bank trigger thing that you can't tell on the internet. But it sounds very Japanese, and it doesn't sound French. And I just connected the dots. You know what? World War II, nobody wanted to be Japanese in America. Because if you were Japanese in America in World War II, they threw you in a concentration camp. So people who were Japanese, who were only partly Japanese, in 1940-ish, would say, "Oh, we're French." He said, "Well," and I've looked up my grandfather's name, and my grandfather's name, my mother's maiden name. Ain't no French people in France with that last name. So but they're sticking to the story, and the reason is, during World War II, they thought, Japanese people, they could be an enemy, so they stuck them in concentration camps out in California, and that really pissed off the people, who were very loyal to the United States. And but that's a long way of saying on that side, oh my God, my grandmother, uh, uh, her name, her maiden name, I can tell you that her maiden name was Lowry, and Lowry is the McLaren clan, the same clan. They're from all the McLarens on the planet originated from and sprung from the McLarens in northwest Scotland, and I think they're called the Hebrides. And so McLarens, yeah, were the clan. And I have a scarf that my grandmother bought my dad for Christmas one year, and I thought, geez, that's nice, but I didn't think anything of it, and I look it up, and it's from Scotland, and it's made of virgin Scottish sheep wool and all that. And this scarf that she bought him today, I guess, would sell for probably like $50 or something like that. Imported from Scotland with the McLaren colors on it. Lowry, if you look up Lowry, Lowry, there's a lot of different spellings for that. Their colors and their website, they explain it all, are the same colors for McLaren, from which sprung forth Bruce McLaren, who was the famous racer in the 60s, started the McLaren car company, and he's got cars, I guess the McLarens, you can pay $3 million for a new McLaren. So it's pretty cool, but unfortunately, he didn't keep the company. He died in, I'm thinking, was it in the mid 70s or mid 60s? He was in a car crash while testing his car, and they sold the company to the Arabs. An Arab company bought the McLaren car company, but I think his daughter is still connected to it somehow. Like in publicity or public relations and stuff like that. So you got the McLarens and the Lowrys, and you got my grandfather, who I think was Japanese and Asian, and then there's the Scottish in there, the Scottish, and my grandmother Yaki. She's a whole nother radio show. I mean, she died. Gosh, she's been dead now for like 40 years. But what a character, and the life and times she had. She's if I told you the names of the people she lived with, hung with, worked for, you wouldn't believe me. And I don't even know if I can legally tell you stuff like that. But that old grandma, maiden name Lowry, Margie Lowry. And then there was, so you got Scottish and Japanese and German and Swiss. Hey, we're the United Nations. It's it's Asian and European and right there in the center of Europe, Germany, France. And so all that to say, the Assembly of God denomination is a very narrowly defined, what would you call it? Letter of the law, legalistic. They have a lot of rules and they frown on you, and a lot of it goes back to the times when it was formed, and it was put forth by a lot of women in the early 1900s. And okay, Jesus' first miracle. We were going on politics here, weren't we? Yes, we were talking about Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I call her Kamala because you know what? You look at that name, if you give an American girl that name, the teachers are going to call her Kamala. They're not going to call her Kamala or Kamala or however the correct pronunciation is. So I like Kamala because it's an American pronunciation. Just like okay, boy, I've really see. This is why I used to have a wife. I mean, she used to keep me on track and kick me in the ass when I she towards the end of us being together, we were together 13 years, and she just couldn't take it anymore. She said, basically she just said, "You're nuts." but my grandmother, or my ex-wife, I won't tell you about her. I won't tell you her name, so I can talk about her. I can talk about her if I don't name her. Maybe in future shows I'll name her, but then I can't talk about her. you know. But it's not slander or libel if it's true. So if I say it on here, it's true because uh, don't you like this hat? You don't have to go to Quantico and train. you can uh, you can just go to the mall. $4 from the Korean people. you know. but I didn't get my MAGA hat. I just Oh, excuse me. Old people. My gosh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Are the cats in? And so Dave Long tonight. Yeah. I'm calling this version of my podcast. This is a new generation. If you were a subscriber and hung around for something called The Shepherd's Voice uh, with Dave Long, now there's Shepherd's Voices out there, but they're not mine. And there's Dave Longs out there, but they're not me. So if you see Dave Long with The Shepherd's Voice with Dave Long, that's me. If you see, and I was the first in the country with the name The Shepherd's Voice. The others were, I didn't know. Nobody told me anything in high school or college about trademarks, copyrights, or patents. And really, when I first started it and developed it, got the name in, matter of fact, that was in 1982. I should have trademarked it. And it's kind of expensive to trademark a name. But if it's who you are known by, it's well worth it. I think back then, in 1982, I was just a college student or just out of college, and saw a lot better places to put the $640. But really, for registering a trademark, not that bad. I'm not sure what it is nowadays, but maybe sometime down the road when we get to know each other better and you've heard me a little and figured out I'm not insane, maybe I'll tell you about the name The Shepherd's Voice. But for now, suffice it to say, I know I was the first one to use that name. Um, and it comes from, you want to know the lineage of it. Okay, John the Baptist, Jesus called him the 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 forerunner, the voice of one crying in the wilderness. The shepherd's voice. The good shepherd is Jesus Christ. And I didn't start this thing to make it a theological or religious teaching, or it's going to creep in there once in a while though to explain things or how I got to where I am now and all that. Just let me say, about a year ago, uh, I spoke to certain people over in New York um, about a job, or I was just talking about. I had some, let's just say, I was talking with particular people or persons concerning a political campaign, and I thought it was being done wrong, and I was worried. And they wanted credentials. And it's funny because now, sitting here in my living room talking to you, I'm just uh, putting out there things about where I've come from and who I am and everything. And I guess that's a way to start off a brand new, it's like a brand new show. Don't think of this as the shepherd's voice. That's dead. That format, I couldn't get a significant population listening. You know what? In this country nowadays, nobody wants to hear anything about religion. And I get that. I know. Listening to teachings on the Bible, half the people don't believe in Christianity, and the people who do believe in Christianity have such a weak, pathetic version of Christianity that, ugh, who would want to waste your time with it? I'm not either of those camps. Into that maybe in the future if there's interest in it. But tonight, well, I thought, you should have some background. First of all, I used to do prepared, serious, scholarly biblical studies of the New and Old Testaments, and we go together, and gosh, I would dig out